least in the conversation, I wish the Packers would have treated me like it.
Okay, man. I dog Dion for this kind of stuff. Usually the first thing a guy says is what they really think. And what the first part of that quote is, I'm the best player in Packers history. Bro, you got a lot of nerve saying that. Number one, at the quarterback spot, you won a Super Bowl. Hey, kudos to you. Just so you know, Brett Favre won a Super Bowl, and Brett Favre went to another one right after that. And Brett Favre won 3 straight MVPs. And Brett Favre, who I don't even like that much, never missed a start. How many starts has Aaron Rodgers missed for the Packers?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. Okay. Now, if you're a super team guy and you're not super hard on young players and stuff like that, then when you're, on the bench, you could be a real asset to your team. I don't know who to believe on this. If you listen to David Bakhtiari, that's all bunk, and he's a great teammate. Of course, he's also good friends with Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to Greg Jennings, who used to play with him, and I've met Greg, I didn't find Greg to be this terribly controversial person. That's not the case. Who knows? Maybe Greg Jennings had an axe to grind. My point is that saying you're the best team in a team's history that's won multiple championships. Let me just say this, man. Packers had a wide receiver named Don Hudson who played in the 30s and 40s. Okay, you don't care about 30s or 40s football, that's fine. But Don Hudson literally was so far above and beyond every other wide receiver in the league that when the NFL did its all 50 team in 1969, Hudson was a no-brainer. And there were a lot of people that thought Don Hudson was the best skill player in the history of the league. Not the history of the Packers, the history of the league, dude. Okay. Forrest Gregg, Vince Lombardi said the best guy that ever played for him. Forrest Gregg was not only Hall of Fame, first ballot, made the all 75th anniversary team in 1994, NFL, not Green Bay, NFL, and the NFL's all 100 team. And Deacon Jones basically said the dude was unbelievable. Okay. Deacon Jones, best pass rusher, maybe in the history of the league. Okay. I'm sorry. Am I just going off here?
No, go. Please do.
All right. Bart Starr. Do you know what Bart Starr? Do you want to take a guess what Bart Starr's postseason record was, Marcus? Come on, a little NFL trivia just for fun.
I'll say 9-1.
Did you look this up? You're such a jerk.
How would I look it up that fast?
You're a jerk.
How 9-1.
9-1. All right.
It's not that I don't do a little bit of, history research. All
right. Let me ask you another history question here.
Sure.
If I asked you what's a good passer rating now, like it doesn't have to be top of the league, but if you're in the top 8 in the NFL, what's your passer rating?
Anything over 100.
Anything over 100. Okay, cool. And if you're up around 105 or something, you may lead the league. You're going to be close, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think was a good passer rating in the 1960s? Like what would have put you in the top 8?
Anything over 85?
Probably anything over 75, to be perfectly fair. And if you were in the high 80s, you would lead the NFL. Bart Starr's postseason stats, bro. Here we go. 9-1, a 15-3 touchdown to interception ratio. That's in an era when your TDs and INTs were about the same. 104.8 passer rating.
And don't forget. Yeah. Again, this is not me looking up. I've done this research before. He led the NFL in passer rating 4 different years during his career with Green Bay.
Yeah. 9-1. 9-1.
Yeah.
And here's what really, and you're right. He led the league in 64. He led the league in 66, 68, and 69. 66, he had 105 passer rating.
Yep.
With 9 yards per attempt.
And there was another season in there, I believe, that was like in the 103, 104 range.
Yeah. 104.3 and 68.
Yeah.
His yards per attempt that year was 9.5.
Yeah. No, it's not to say that Bart Starr's a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers, because I don't believe it, but it's not so clear cut, right?
What it speaks to is somebody who's very in love with his own stats, who knows how people compare stats, and he knows what Bart Starr stats are. And like, gosh, I threw for more yards in 1 year than Bart Starr threw for in 2.5. It's just not the same. So I have a real problem with it. I do.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Because it does feel like he's going to get traded to the Jets. I would assume this weekend. I think by this weekend it'll be done. He said that he was 90% sure that he was going to retire when he went into the darkness retreat. And then when he got out, the Packers basically said that they were moving on from him regardless. And that's what made him believe, hey, I want out and I want to show them that I can still play at a high level. Do you think the Jets will be getting a ticked off Aaron Rodgers that's set out to prove that he's still the best quarterback in the league? Or do you think we've just kind of gotten past that part of his career and he's just going to be the 11th best quarterback in the league?
No, I think that what the Jets did is back in like January, they brought in a couple consultants, the Bobs, one of them was John C. McGinley. And I think the Bobs sat down with the Jets front office and said, we think you haven't challenged him enough, you know? And you know what they promised, Aaron? What if, and I'm just spitballing here, we put a team of 3 or 4 guys underneath you. And that's where this whole deal came about getting Lazard, Randall Cobb,
Mercedes Lewis, Jordy Nelson.
Lewis. Yeah. Sorry. I don't see him. I don't see him being a top 5 quarterback. I think you said more like top 11. It's probably, to me, yeah, maybe if he stays healthy, he'll be the 8th best quarterback in the league. I believe Aaron Rodgers turns 40 this year. He's 39. I don't know that the arm strength is there. Now, I'm not worried about him throwing in New York. This isn't a guy that's coming from the Falcons all of a sudden, you know, in the dome playing. This is a guy that played in Green Bay. So I'm not worried about that with him. But these are all new receivers. This is also a totally different media than the one in Wisconsin. And if things don't go well, if they go 2-4 out of the gate, you know, and you're on the Pat McAfee show every week, I don't know.
I just think back when Randall Cobb signed with the Cowboys back in 2019, and he said he was overwhelmed by the media coverage in Dallas compared to Green Bay. And he said it was basically it was shocking and it was just so new to him. Imagine Aaron Rodgers going to New York and dealing with that media coverage where he is he's the main guy every single day. It's going to be fascinating to watch it. I can't wait to ignore it all during the season.
Yeah. Let me say this. I think Aaron Rodgers is a phenomenal player. I just don't like comments like that, you know, and he doesn't care what I think. That's fine. You know, in fact, we have kind of the same hairdo at the moment. So I really shouldn't be saying anything, but, you know, I just think there comes a time when you need to be a little bit more humble and you want to go in with an open mind. I actually am not one of these people that hates on him for the darkness retreat. I actually thought that was kind of a good idea, but I will tell you, Marcus, if you all of a sudden do one of these sound baths or go sit around at Esalen in California and listen to the drum beats and start playing the big drums, you start getting into your head and you might go on like a weird trip, bro. And you might come out of it saying, you know, I want to do Locked On Jags. I'm aiming for that job.
Very good show. Andrew Wiggins does a fantastic job over there. So
would you, if you had to, just for our listeners' benefit and for all the good people at Brinks, if you were going to recommend a Florida NFL podcast, would you go with Locked On Jags or OnlyFins?
Oh, OnlyFins, man. That's the one to do right there. It's an awesome show.
I've heard a lot of people can really lose track of themselves on OnlyFins, you know?
And you get into 45 minutes of watching that show and you just don't even know what you're doing next and your clothes are all off. I get it.
OnlyFins has got to be having a field day though with all the Dolphins moves.
Oh my gosh.
We should say the Dolphins we haven't really talked about it much. They're positioning themselves for a championship run. I'm super serious. I like them re-signing Mostert, by the way, for a 2-year deal.
I agree that. And I love the David Long signing, the Jalen Ramsey trade. Front office, hot and heavy with some of these defensive guys.
Okay, now we really need to go. You don't even get a final thought. He is the host of the the Cowboys Locked On podcast, the most listened to Cowboys podcast. It's right up there with the Jags, which they do a great job. We're Locked On Jags. Also writes for PFF, if I didn't mention that 5 times already. And he covers the Raiders for USA Today. He's at Marcus_Mosher on Twitter. I'm at Harrison NFL on Twitter. We appreciate you guys. And maybe we'll do a podcast on Friday and talk about some movies and more free agent trickle news.
We'll see.
Talk to y'all later. Take care.